SaaS, and in today's episode, we are going to continue with our settings tab screen. In the last episode, we were able to pick profile photos and upload them to our backend. In today's episode, we are going to be able to update our username in our bio. In the completed version of our project that we have on this simulator, we are able to click on this and actually enter a new username and a new bio for our profile. And when we click on the update button, we actually update that. So that's really what we're going to be focusing on today. And let us jump right into Xcode and get started with our business. The first thing I would like for us to do is, presenting this text field or this inputs that actually allows us to be able to enter the username and bio. And so we're going to do that inside of our settings tab screen. And let us go right ahead and resume our SwiftUI preview. And what we need to do is to append another alert below these alerts. And this specific alert is going to be responsible for, just showing, for example, when we click on this, we want to be able to show the username and the bio text field. So I'm going to go ahead and just start writing alerts. And the one that I want is I want to be able to enter a title. So I want this one, and the title is just going to, actually, I don't even think the title matters because it doesn't really, maybe let's just put a title. We're going to say, update your profile. And the is presented for now, let us just put let's go into our view model, into our settings tab view model, and let us create a publish property here. And the publish property is going to be responsible for showing those text field. And let's just go ahead and say, show user info editor, or text fields, whichever one you want. Let's take this show user info editor. Let's go back to our settings tab screen and let us go ahead and bind it to this is presented property here. So we're going to say $view model dot show user info editor. All right, let's enter this bad boy and let us start writing some children inside of this alert. And so the first one that we want is we want a text field for our username. So I'm going to go ahead and say text field. I'm going to pass in username. And what is going to be the text? For now, let us just use a constant. Again, we're going to define this inside of our settings tab view model in just a little bit. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste this down here. And this is going to be for our bio. Okay. And let's see, what else do we want? I want some sort of a button that says update. So I'm going to say update button, and the update button, we're going to have to create a function that actually allows us to be able to update that information. And I'm going to copy this again and paste it here. And this is going to be for our cancel button. And the cancel button, let us give it a role. So we're going to say the role is .cancel. And the role is essentially what gives it this nice, actually it looks bolded, just slightly bolded. And yeah, so let's go back ahead and let's continue with our work. So we have everything we need here. The only other thing that I would like for us to actually do is to add a message here to our alert. And the message is just going to be a text component. And the text, let's just say something like enter your new username or bio. Okay. And let's go right ahead and actually get started. So how do we want to toggle this show username info to true? And the way we're going to do that is inside of, so it looks like we have this, we have this top component here. We just need to add a tab gesture to this bad boy so you can actually present all these alert field. And let's scroll all the way to, let's see, our first, which is our settings edit view, our first components inside of our list. And I'm just going to go right ahead and add an on-tab gesture to this username info right here, user info text view, which contains our username, contains our QR code, and it contains our bio. So essentially this bad boy right here, besides the profile image. And so I'm just going to make this easy on myself. And I'm just going to add an on-tab gesture. Again, you can probably wrap it inside of a button, but let's just make this easy. Let's add an on-tab gesture. Let's add a view model dot show user info editor, and we're going to toggle this to true. And let us test what that looks like. So when we click on this, look at that, guys. We have our update your profile, enter your username or bio, and we have everything we need. And so the goal is you should be able to enter your username here, enter your bio here. When you click on update, we want to actually update those information in our backend. So how do we do that? Well, let's handle one thing at a time. Let's go replace these constants here with the actual, information. And so I'm going to jump into our, view model and create a bunch of publish property that's going to, hold on to the username and the bio. And so the first one that we want is we're just going to say at publish property, publish var, and let's just call this name, and it's just going to default it to an empty string. And at published var bio, let's default this to an empty string. And I think that's the only two we need, to be honest with you guys. But if we want to make this nicer, I suppose we can have upon initialization, I would actually like for this view model, to be honest, guys, to actually have the currently logged in user information. But before we do that, let's go and bind these into our settings tab screen. So let's jump into our settings tab screen, and instead of using constants, we're just going to say $view model dot name, and this one is going to be $view model dot bio. Okay, so back to that other idea of the view model should know who the currently logged in user is. So I would like for us to inject the currently logged in user into our settings tab view model, because the settings tab screen already know who the currently logged in user is with this current user property. So I'm going to pass that down into this view model. And the way we're going to do that pretty quickly is just using dependency injection. I'm just going to create a private, let's see, how do we want to do this? I'm just going to say private let current user, or let's make it private var current user is going to be of type user item. And of course, now we need to create an initializer. We need to pass it into our initializer. So I'm going to pass in current user in here. And I'm going to say self.current user. This equals to current user that we're passing in from our initializer. And our view model is going to yell at us, and let's go ahead and fix that. Our settings tab view model is going to yell at us. So now we can no longer initialize it right now, because now, the settings tab view model requires us to inject the current user. And we're just going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to change this from an assignments operator, and we're going to infer that it's of type settings tab view model. However, we're going to assign it in here. We're going to say self._view model, which allows us to access the state object. And we're going to say state object. So we're going to create a new state object with a wrapped value. And what's the wrapped value going to be? Well, we're going to say settings tab view model and create the settings tab view model here and pass in the current user that has been injected from our settings tab screen. So this is just a way for us to do dependency injection for view models. And we're just creating the state object right here. And so with that, now everything should load as always, and everything is still good. What I want us to do is when we click on this, I actually want the text fields to pre-fill with the existing current user's information. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to jump back into our settings tab view model. And so here now I'm going to say self.username. Actually, we call it name. Self.name is equals to current user.username, and self.bio is current user.bio unwrapped. Okay. And let's jump back to our settings tab view model, or our settings tab screen. Let's wait for this bad boy to load up, and let us see if it actually pre-fills it with the information that we want. So when we click on this, it says OSAS. That's awesome. And of course, this one has the view model. It has the existing bio information. And we don't have to use the unwrapped version, to be honest, guys. We could probably just use the regular bio. So that way it's going to default to nil if it's not even existing. Let's see what happens. And it's going to yell at us. Actually, yeah, we need to default this. So I'm going to default this to just an empty string instead of using that, bio unwrapped version. Let's go back to our settings tab screen. And let's see what happens when we click on it inside of our, canvas. So let's present those text field. Look at that. It has OSAS, and it just in bio, it just says bio, which is awesome because we don't have a bio for this OSAS right now. For this OSAS placeholder model. So what do we want to do? Well, when we click on this update button inside of this, alert, I want us to actually update our information in the backend for this currently logged in user. And the way we're going to do that is let's just go ahead and create another function inside of our, settings view model. And what's a good name for this one? Let's just call this one something like, update username and bio. So I'm going to say update username and bio. And let's see, we need to get the currently logged in user information. Okay, that's the first bit. And then we need to construct a bunch of dictionary key value pairs. So I'm going to say if our dictionary is going to be of type string, the keys are going to be string, and the value can be any type really. And the first thing that I want us to do is I'm going to say that bio. For the bio key, I want us to pass in the bio that we have here, which is a published property. Okay, and then let's see, and then I'm going to say if the name is not empty, so if name dot is not empty or white space, then I also want to say dictionary, and then the name, the username field, we're going to update it with the new name that we have just entered, which is this published property right up here. So okay, so if the name is not empty, meaning if we have a name inside of our text field, that's awesome. Let us update that. And the next thing that I want us to do now is to store it in our backend. And all we got to do is just same thing as this one. I'm going to copy this right here, which is just Firebase constant current user. But instead of the profile image, URL, we're not going to use the profile image. We're just going to go into the current UID node, and then let's us set the value, and the value is going to be our dictionary. But instead of set value, let's use the update value method. So Firebase have this update child values method, and we're just going to pass in our updated dictionary. And I think that's pretty much all that we need to do. And by the way, all we're doing here is, again, we're just going to the user node, we're going to the current UID, it's paths, and then we're saying, for username, update the username if there's a text in there, and then for bio, also update the bio. That's all we're just doing inside of this Firebase query. And so with that, what do we want to do? Well, let us nail everything out now. Let us say name is back to empty string, bio is back to empty string. Or actually, yeah, let's just leave it. There's no need for us to clear that out, honestly. What I do want us to show is to show some sort of a progress HUD or some sort of a success HUD. And in this case, because we're not updating any object to the bucket, it's going to be super quick. So we can just say show success HUD is equals to true. Okay. And I think that's pretty much everything that we need. The one other thing I would like for us to do now is I would actually like for us to update our current user. So this current user item, I would like for us to update that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and actually update our information. So I'm going to take, let's think for a second here, guys. So I'm going to actually take update user information, jump into our settings tab screen, and let us use this method to actually update. So we're going to call this method inside of our update method that's inside of our lots. We're just going to say view model dot update username and bio. Okay, let's go ahead and run this on our simulator and let's see what happens. And also we're going to check it out inside of our Firebase console to make sure we are actually storing that information. Okay, our simulator is up and running. Let's jump to our settings screen. Let us change our username from QA user 50 to something like Padme 50. Okay, and let us change the bio to the queen herself. Hit that update button. Let's see what happens. Look at that. It says profile info updated, which is awesome. And our currently logged in user, as we remember, is WO something. That's the UID. Let's jump into our Firebase node and let's go find that bad boy. So I'm just going to spell WOL. I think that's the Yep, this one right here, this path. And look at that, guys. We have, if I jump into our users node, so this is our users. This is the user ID for the currently logged in user, which is QA user 50. And look at that, the bio has been updated to the Queen herself, and the username is now Padme 50. What if we change it back to like QA user 50? Let's just say QA user 50, and let's put something like again. Hit that update button, right? And let us jump right here. Look at that. It says QA user 50 again. And that's awesome. And so we're able to update our profile photo, and we're able to update our bio. What if we change, let's see. What if we change the bio, we make it empty, we hit that update, look at that, it removes the bio, which is pretty awesome. That's exactly what we want. And the one final thing I want us to change pretty quickly, everything seems to be good so far. The one thing I want us to actually change is inside of our authentication screen, our authentication manager actually, not the screen. So I'm going to Command Shift and O, and I'm going to jump into our auth manager. And inside of our auth manager, really what I want to do is, our currently logged in user right now, we are fetching it using the observe method. I would actually like to change that. I would like to change that to the observe single event method. And I'm just going to go right ahead and do that. Observe single event. And the single event has a of parameter. So observe single events of the value. So this is no longer going to be actively listening to the user node. And let us stick with this one. But now we're going to have to actually refresh our app manually every single time we update our user information. So let's go ahead and run a project again really quickly. Make sure everything is still compiling. I'm going to close this completed version. And let us jump to our settings screen. And so we have QA user 50. Let us change the bio, for example. Let's change the bio. Let's say something like the Queen. Hit that update button, and as you can see, it actually doesn't update it here, right? We're not getting that update, and the reason is because we're no longer refreshing our app when we actually update the application. And let us go ahead and fix that pretty quickly. The reason I changed this to observe single events is, personally, I just like to manually refresh my application because this feels like unnecessary, just to be actively listening to the current user node when we can actually update it ourselves. So let's jump into our settings tab view model, and how do we actually update our application when we're done updating, for example, the username and bio and the profile image? All we got to do is honestly just say auth manager, okay, and we're just going to say .shared, okay. And what else? We're going to say authentication states. Remember, we have this auth state inside of our auth manager. If I jump into it, when we created our auth provider, we have the specification for auth states. So our auth manager knows the auth states, which is right here. And cool enough, the auth state has this logged in case, and the logged in case knows who the currently logged in user is. So I hope you're following along. And so now let's go back to our settings tab view model. All we're going to say is auth states, and we're just going to send a publication and be like, hey, the logged in user, we're going to update the currently logged in user information. And what are we going to do? We're going to use the current user that is inside of our settings tab view model. But that is not going to make any difference right now because we're actually not updating that current user. And here's what we're going to do. So right here, where we're doing bio, for example, we're going to say current user, the bio is equals to this bio that is inside of our settings tab view model. So now we've updated this current user property right here. Remember, it's a variable, so we can change it. And the other thing I'm going to like to do is same thing for the username. So I'm going to say current user inside of here, the username, right? If the username was changed, then pass in the name property, which is a published property. And let's go do the same thing. So this is going to yell at us. The same name is alert. And let's go change that. So let's command and jump into the username inside of our user item. Let's change it to a variable. There's no reason for it to be a var. Let's be able to, alert. We can always change it. And so now with that fixed, let us go all the way back to our profile image upload. And inside of our profile image upload, I would like for us to do the same thing. So right when we're done on success, right after we're done dismissing, all we got to do is just say, let's see here. We just say current user dot profile image URL. And what is the profile image URL, guys? Image URL dot absolute string. That's all we need, guys. And so with that, now we'll be able to upload it. But we also need to trigger this refresh. So this is basically just how we reload our current user information app-wide. And we're going to put that here as well. So that way we're actually refreshing our current user information once we're done uploading the profile photo. So now with that, I think we have everything that we need. Something else I actually just realized pretty quickly also is in here, right here where we have disable send button, I would like to add another logic. I'm going to say if we should disable the send button if show progress odd is also true, which makes sense, right? When you click on that save button, when we're actually uploading the profile photo, it makes sense for us to disable the send button or the save button. I keep calling it send button, the save button right away. Let's go ahead and run the project. And that's going to be it for this episode, guys. But let's just make sure everything is working as expected. And I think we're going to wrap up here. So let's jump into our settings tab screen. Let us change the username from the Queen to the Swift School is awesome, right? Let's hit that update button. Let's see what happens. Look at that. It changes it right here, right? Which is awesome. And let's go back here. Let us change, for example, the username to Queen Padme 50 again. Queen Padme 50. And let's hit that update button and look at that. We have that, profile info updated. It changes it right here. And it also refreshes it app wide. And so if we go to our Firebase node, for example, you can see it's Queen Padme here and it's the correct bio that we just updated. And so what's really going on, if I may explain pretty quickly, is, we have this authentication state, which is exactly what is driving our, our presentation, our login presentation. And anytime this logged in state is triggered, the main tab view is essentially going to redraw itself and it's going to inject that current user back down to any of its child views. So if I Command Shift and O and I jump to main tab view, again, again, remember this main tab view has the current user. So anytime I set this current user and I send out that publication, anytime I send out this, auth state, the send currently logged in user info, anytime I'm updating it, it's just going to fire and it's going to refresh, and we're going to be able to get the latest information that we just updated to our backend. And so that's pretty much it for this episode, guys. And I think honestly that's going to be it for the settings screen. I'm not really going to be doing any more advanced stuff as far as settings is concerned, just because this is already going to be a very, very long, extensive series. And hopefully you guys appreciate the amount of effort I've been putting into this. As you know, this is a free course that you're watching on YouTube, but I'm going to do my best to get back to the other module that we're working on, which is this, our channel screen. It's now time for us to actually start doing a bunch of other fun stuff. And by that, I mean push notification, reactions, and all those other cool things, like, for example, video calling and things of that nature. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the series. As always, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.